Now we turn to Let's Play Suzerain. Okay. Proposed regional investment to strengthen the weaker parts of the economy, or Office of the President of Sordland. Let's look at budget allocation of law enforcement. I was in my office reading reports from the ministries about the current situation of the protests. My next scheduled meeting was about the law enforcement budget with Nia and Lilius. I heard some knocks on the door. Nia entered and took a seat in front of my desk. Lilius was absent. "Morning, Mr. President." Lilius was late. Apparently, there was an urgent matter at the Ministry of the Interior she had to attend to. Shouldn't take long. Oh, what's the urgent matter? She said something about supply distribution for the police forces. Nothing major. I returned to my reports, and Nia smoothed back an errant strand of her hair. There was an awkward silence. "While we wait, why don't we have a little chat? This might come off as a little strange, but I'm proud of you. Despite everything, you're actually trying to reform the country." Yeah, what do you want? Well, okay. I'm up for the first 2/3 of this sentence, but this one seems to imply that we is now saying that you and I, so like, I don't want to come off as favoritism. So I could just accept this. Yeah, okay. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to do. Yes, although there's a lot to do, the future looks promising. Thank you for that. You're giving me hope that this country can get better. Again, I guess we could still go the friendly route, though. I'm still convinced that being friendly with my inner circle is a good idea. So, your support gives me hope as well. We're all in this together, after all. She leaned forward. How are you really holding up, Anton? Being the president, I mean. Well, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it's also the best thing I've ever done in my life. I don't know about that. Word ever gets back about my family, they might take affront to that. And this is kind of dismissive. Yeah, whatever. It's also the best thing I've ever done in my life. I can imagine. So much responsibility and so much power at the same time. I want to assist you in the country as best I can, and to do that I have an idea. We need to eliminate the worst problem we have. Corruption. Well, we are definitely a corrupt government. We know that. We know that we've got, I mean, for Christ's sake, it says so. It says so. Right here. Okay. And how do we do that? It's high time old guards in the Supreme Court stop holding the country in the palm of their hands. That's why I want to form a new unit. The Anti-Corruption Police. That's my idea. Well, I mean, that's a good question. Who watches the Watchmen? What if the Anti-Corruption Police get corrupted? What then? I'm still figuring out the details myself right now, but of course there would be safety mechanisms in place. Also, one more thing. About Lilius. I wouldn't trust her if I were... She barely finished the sentence. She didn't at all. Before we heard a knock on the door. Nia almost jumped in her chair. Lilius Graff entered the room. "Mr. President? Nia? I hope I'm not interrupting your conversation?" "No, not at all. We're just discussing a few things." Nia smiled at Lilius. "I'm sorry for being late. There's an important matter at the ministry. Just a small dispute over who should get the supplies. Nothing major." They keep saying that. Lilius took the seat next to Nia as she continued talking. "Well then, let's go straight in. We will provide a brief update on the situation of law enforcement." "Go ahead." "Nia, the Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Court is working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Interior to address the protests in the country. I must add that thanks to the hard work of our judiciary, the law enforcement forces assigned to my ministry are doing their jobs efficiently." I would call it the success of our forces on the ground, not due to the judicial branch of our government. Lilius shot Nia a brief, withering glance. As expected, the budget increases boosted morale of the employees in the law enforcement agencies. In these dire times, my people and Nia's people are especially delighted. This came as a pleasant surprise to many in the Ministry of the Interior, since it was not even one of our campaign promises. And for that, all I will say is bravo. This was an excellent decision. Agreed. At the Ministry of Justice, we are very happy with the decision as well. The backlog of the court cases are dwindling, and we've started to fulfill the needs of the current situation. Certainly a step in the right direction. Okay, let me look at this again. Law. So the court backlog is being taken care of. Okay. Human rights thing is still being an issue. Order, though. Organized crime. But the peaceful protests are getting better, so bearing in mind. Okay. Let's go with something neutral. I did what was expected from me, that's all. Of course. Well then, let's move on to what we were actually here for. Due to the budget increase, we can start doing much more as the main branches of security in Sordland. However, a decision has to be made about the budget balance between the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Justice. Exactly. When deciding, you must look at the bigger picture. I believe you'll make the right choice and pick the Ministry of Interior. Why should I pick the Ministry of Interior? The Ministry of Interior is a much more significant and important government agency that is in need of the funds, especially during these times. Okay, hold on a minute. So, we've already increased our budget, and we're already apparently doing things. So, okay, anyway, I thought we were already funding these things. That's kind of what it implied to me. Especially during these trying times where there are many protests in the country. Good luck prosecuting criminals or going through local government laws without enough judges, Lilius. That is a thing, right? The court backlog is a thing. But we've also got like 3 things going on here, but 2 of them are tied to corruption. Okay. Why should I pick the Ministry of Justice? Each day, the stacks of legal cases are piling up for judges. Cases for corruption and criminals are delayed due to a lack of funds. It seems to be that it is an organizational issue, but not a funding one. Okay, I just want to point out that I have heard that exact excuse in work. You know, how all the problems are time management issues, blaming the workers and not systemic issues. Anyway, I might be a little bit biased in this one, Lilius. The Interior needs the money more for the police and local governments. What if I decide to balance the budget in between Interior and Justice? Balancing the budget won't help as much. I fail to see how this is possible, because you're both getting an increase. The current situation clearly demands that a decisive choice to be made to benefit the nation. I agree, we need to focus on one ministry to achieve tangible results. Of course, that would make the most sense in the current situation. What would make the most sense would be to support the much-neglected Ministry of Justice that would improve the legal system in Sordland. Tell me, Nia, who brings the criminals before the justices? Let me answer, the police forces connected to the Ministry of Interior. Okay. So, is it just me? Urban development and police relations. Okay. So we do have more order problems. But as I said, organized crime and corruption are effectively the same thing. They are tied to corruption, which is something that Nia wants to deal with. And then we've got the issue with the court backlog. We're also trying to do more with pushing the women's rights movement, which is part of the Constitution? Or is this a separate thing? I don't remember anymore. Things get repeated several times, both in like the news and the little reports, and then talking to these people. It's like the issues come up, they go away, then they come up again, so I don't remember who said what or what it was tied to what. We have some rights. Judicial rivalry. Supreme Court and the Ministry of Justice are an illegal constitutional rivalry. British problem. Millions of British people live inside the borders. They don't get the same treatment as swords. See, here's the thing, and so far the only thing that I have heard between the two on this is that Lilius is focused purely on police. Enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. Whereas Nia is at least offering something that would tackle several of these at the same time. You know, putting it in the judiciary means more expedient court processing, which would fix the backlog. And she also keeps hammering on we need to do anti-corruption police. I'm afraid, though, that the anti-corruption police is still going to be like a secret political police. But corruption is definitely a thing, and I've thought more about this based on previous episodes, because not only do we have, like, organized crime, for example, and quite possibly a lot of graft going on, we ourselves have been approached several times about corruption. Like the justices trying to put pressure on me, apparently revealing they have their own spy network spying on the opposition leader. The old guards and the oligarchs, the two forces that are currently working strongly against me and have all of my major enemies in their little Venn diagram, have been trying to influence me and pass corruption. You know, they've been trying to bribe me. The necessity, like, honestly, her biggest thing is constantly police, 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 enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. But the fact that this is now turning yellow, the fact that we were told once that incidences were going down, I feel like this is less of an issue now, or at least it's becoming less of an issue, and is now more of a symptomatic issue. And perhaps this corruption thing is the root of it. It's also the root of the weapons coming into the country and helping radicalize the extremists, right? It's pushing that. So putting police on it might stop some of the incidences, might stop it, but it's not going to stop the root of it from happening. I am more and more inclined to actually go with this. I'm afraid of that choice, though, because I also feel like previously when I had a law enforcement choice to make, then we started seeing a lot more of like the beheadings and the car bombings and whatnot. So I almost wonder if this is a choice where the game is giving me like a false sense of security and that things are going to ramp up again. I don't know, it just seems like what Lilius is providing me is an oversimplified solution. We need more police. And that doesn't really solve the systemic problems. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with this. If for no other reason than because, like I said, it tackles three things, and Lilius might tackle this. That's not really what police forces do, especially not the corruption thing. Especially nationwide, it's more government law enforcement agencies that are responsible for large-scale investigations and whatnot. Hence the anti-corruption police force. Okay, let's do it. Ready to make my decision. What will it be? Lilius and Nia leaned forward. I still fail to see how equal distribution is a bad thing. Especially since we were literally just told the increase in budget has already improved morale and helped clear out some of the backlog and is helping the police on the streets, with equipment and whatnot. Like, we were literally just told that increasing it was enough. But I had this argument before the first time she brought up the extra police force. How we would need funding towards that, and hence why I put funding in law enforcement to begin with. Alright. The funds will go to the Ministry of Justice to reduce the court backlog and improve the justice system. Bad decision making. You're quickly going to get yourself off of my cabinet here. The right choice. It was time the Ministry of Justice got the funds it needs. A brief moment of deliberation passed. Lilius got up from her seat. I must return to the ministry to implement necessary changes. Very well. See you soon, Lilius. I need to have a few words with Mr. President. Lilius left the room. Here's my proposal. Corruption has always been a major issue with any government. It is the root of all evil. That's why I'm proposing the formation of the Anti-Corruption Police. As a sub-branch of the Ministry of Justice, the ACP would be given full authority by the President to investigate corrupt government officials and citizens. See, I'm getting, like, I might handle this just fine, but what about the future? This seems like a very, very corruptible thing. This would especially come in handy when dealing with corruption in higher positions. The Supreme Court and oligarchs that meddle in politics are just a few examples. As I said, they've already approached me. If you accept, this will give our administration the ability to deal with corruption quickly and decisively. I mean, they are definitely corrupt, and I am pissing them off all up and down. We may as well just go all in on this point. Alright. Let's form it. Again, I know I can keep a tight grip on this leash, but future presidencies, once you create stuff like this, it's very difficult to get them out. But we do know that she's not just blowing smoke. Like, we literally have experienced in this game this corruption, and maybe we need to handle that. Very well, let's form it. Excellent. I'll start the prep work. You're making good decisions after good decisions today, Mr. President. I really hope so. I'm really afraid this is a too good to be true situation. I'll be in touch. Nia got up and left the room. Anti-corruption law. The anti-corruption law is the new legal initiative under the Ministry of Justice that combats government corruption among the anti-corruption police. Let's increase justice funding. The budget of the Ministry of Justice and all essential subsidiary institutions has been increased. Anti-corruption campaign. Okay, look at this. We got rid of the situation with the backlog. The government has launched a campaign to combat rampant corruption in the country. Efficient justice system. The newest improvements and changes to the justice system have caused increased judicial efficiency and positive judicial personnel. The increased justice budget has created a positive mood in personnel and increasing respect for the new government. But what's it done on the other side? Nothing. Anti-corruption police force, a new force within the Ministry of Justice that combats government corruption. Hasn't done anything on that yet, but it hasn't been formed yet either, so... Allocated increased enforcement budget to the justice system. Okay. Lockhaven Times. Richter calls president to action. Head of Sordland's main opposition party, People's Freedom and Justice Party, Franz Richter, has said President Rayne needs to address issues like term limits and electoral threshold if Sordland's democracy, freedoms, and economy were to be developed. Richter also talked about the need for educational reforms and expressed his support for Minister of Education Sierra Walda. The one thing that we did not do. Recession is growing faster. With double digits unemployment and plunging economic output, the recession has been a reality for a long time. But if there was any remaining doubt that Sordland is in a recession, it's now been removed by an announcement from the Business Council of Sordland. In the announcement, the council pointed to the unprecedented magnitude of the decline in employment and production and its broad reach across the entire Sordish economy. The economy shrank by 2% in the last month and lost further value against the Arcasian lira. Okay. Okay, well, here we go. A proposed regional investment to strengthen the weaker parts of the economy. Gus Manger and Simon Hall have prepared an extensive regional investment package to revitalize one of the top 3 economically fragile regions by boosting the municipality budgets, providing large sums of business grants, and giving cheap loans to companies with liquidity problems. The proposal can be implemented in one of the following regions: Bergia, Loren, and Agenland, or not at all, minus another government budget. Okay, well, this is a situation where we're going to have to dig into a deficit to get ourselves out, if this is going to help. The railway alone is still apparently a year away from being done, and is not likely to pay off by itself, so we're going to need potentially more. Okay, so Bergia, let's hide this for a moment. Bergia, this is the international airport. It's also got Sarna. As I recall, this wasn't too bad. What was the other one? Loren, which, excuse me, right here in Agenland. Okay. Well, I'm inclined to do Agenland because at the very beginning of the game, I did not choose them, right? I chose the railway system instead of the highway system, which would have helped them. So this is my chance to put funding back into Agenland and help that situation. However, recently, we've been getting a lot of news about Loren. Now, I'm not sure. This is the industrial center, right? And this is the tourist center. Let me look at the codex a little bit more here. Anti-Corruption Force. The Anti-Corruption Police is the domestic intelligence and security service of Sordland. The organization was founded by the 4th President of Sordland, Anton Rayne, in 1954, with its headquarters in Holsord. The organization is given full authority by the Presidency to investigate corrupt government officials and citizens in Sordland. The ACP functions as a sub-branch directly under the Ministry of Justice, Ms. Nia Morgna, while ground operations are organized and led by Greater Holsword Police Chief Carl Gieser. Gieser? Was that his name? Carl Grieser. Wow. Good job. That's what I thought. Didn't. Yeah, okay. I think this is a short-term solution that is quickly going to become a long-term problem. That's my feeling about it. It is just, in fighting corruption, it is almost a little bit corrupt in itself. This could easily be abused. I wonder if I'll get a chance to do more. Anyway, no, Loren is what I wanted to look at here. Regions. Loren. Second smallest region, capital Morna, least is the least populous of the... Oh, okay. Lauren fell to become one of the weakest economies after the recession. It's home to coal mines and factories and the basically industrial output. Okay. Whereas Gruni is what? Fourth largest region. Fourth most populous. One of the most vibrant economies. Okay, well, I'm not worried about that. It's beaches, wine, tourism. Okay. It's not even on the menu right now anyway. But I just got confused between what these all do here. So it's between Lauren and Agenland. And if Lauren does indeed now have actually the weakest economy, maybe that's what we want to fix. Like I said, we've been getting a lot of events popping up saying that mine collapses, factories shut down, etc., etc. This has been a problem here. But for one thing, Lilius would be happy if we invested into Agenland, since she pushed that initially as well. And that's where she's from, right? Cabinet. Served as mayor of Arvery, yeah. I mean, I don't know. We kind of also need a little bit here, maybe for Agnolia. Agnolia wanted to have a trade deal, right? Did that ever go through? Did we ever make a trade deal with them? And it was specifically within this region, right? Like they wanted to overlap some stuff that we'd get from Agenland, if I recall. So I recall he said something about like the fishing thing, which is what Agenland is about, right? It's got ports all along the place. But we also haven't heard any problems from Agenland. That's the thing. Lauren is in a problematic situation here with its economy and its industry. It is, however, the smallest region. Where the hell am I? Lauren. It is the least populated. I thought Agenland would be. Is the fifth most populous. So it's wow. Okay. So it's not even number 2. It's actually it is the poorest region and has a stagnant economy. What? Become one of the weakest. Okay, but it's not. So, okay. This is... So we have an industrial center here that could actually help the economy quite a bit, but is the least populated area. Or we go to the third least populated area that has the weakest economy and is also home to the NFP. The Conservative Party and the Nationalist Party comes out of Agenland, primarily. Which makes me wonder, a large number of companies used to operate in the region, but most of them left the country in the last decades. But see, this investment, I don't think, is going to be about the infrastructure. We missed that one. It would just be purely to help bump up its economy. So operating under the idea of the most good, investing in the region would help more people out of Agenland than Lauren directly. But they have no industries. They've already left. Companies have already left. And right now it is primarily, what, agricultural? Except that wasn't wasn't Nargis the agricultural center of trade center, oil, other resources? Okay, no, it must be Bergia then. Vibrant economy relies on agriculture, mining, and steel. Okay, so like we've already kind of got a thing going on here that covers what would come out of both Agenland and Lauren. I don't know, my initial reaction is put it into Agenland just because I wanted to do that. You know, I snubbed them in that first decision, so this is a chance to redeem that. But we've been getting a lot of news lately about Lauren. Industries collapsing, people dying. That could have been towards the Workers' Rights Act, though. That information may have been pertinent to that and not necessarily anything else. I think maybe we should do Lauren, though. If this can become a new industrial center, that'll help the economy in the long run. But it's got low population. But then again, more jobs might bump up population. It just, with Agenland being a bunch of nothing, I'm not really sure what it can provide. It's got more people, and there was a call to build infrastructure here, and building infrastructure would have probably helped bring this back up. See, that's the thing. Like, right now it's weak, but what we plant with this investment, what are we going to get out of it? That's the thing. That's the thing. Another thing to consider too, though, if we end up going to war, we're going to need industrial output more than we will, not necessarily more than we will agricultural output, but Agenland is more vulnerable to invasion than Lauren would be. Let's put it into Lauren. Let's put it into Lauren. I hate the idea that we're abandoning this region, especially because I do think that if we invested in it, we would help a little bit with the weakening politically of our rivals, who happen to be dangerous. I'm also not a fan of this -1 budget. How deep can we go before this really becomes a problem? I don't think we have a choice not to invest, though. That's the thing. Like, it makes sense to be doing this. I think Bergia is definitely fine on its own. Let's put it into Lauren. Yeah. Even the smallest of decisions are painful sometimes. Okay, it's just 2 more decisions here. News. The Whole Sword Post. Government investment in Lauren. The Swordish government has injected billions of Ren into the development of the region of Lauren. The Lauren region was identified as one of the government's priority areas for luring heavy industry investments. The city of Morna and Morble will likely benefit the most from the investments due to their proximity to natural resources, existing transmission links, and population centers. The government program is designed to attract investors and kickstart the massive industry of the region that has shrunk over the decade. The funding will also be used to develop the regional infrastructure, and a small portion will be used as subsidies for the forestry industry, government officials said. So it will develop infrastructure. Economy. Investments in Lauren. A large investment plan has been implemented, providing vast funds for companies and municipalities in the Lauren region to boost economic development. Well, our economy just went up from that. Mildly. We're still in the red. And that's starting to look worrying to me. What do we have here? A briefing on the L1 railway construction issues. Okay. The L1 railway construction created the perfect opportunity to visit the Green Technological Nerve Center of Sordland. Dozens of electrical engineers from the city were part of the electrification upgrade of the rail track. The main purpose of our visit was to solve construction issues that began to endanger the deadline. The Gelsord Research Council let us use their facilities. The rectors weren't interested in our affairs. Simon looked a little more stressed than usual. Gus was also here to find solutions. He eyed me for a while. Taurus Holding has reached out to us and requested more funds. As per the report they've sent, to finish the railway on time, they realize more capital is necessary due to the new labor laws. We scheduled the construction to finish sooner, but Taurus Holding might miss that target with the current trajectory. It's unfortunate, but construction can be disrupted when costs change dramatically. I knew something was wrong when they offered the contract for cheaper. Underhaul wouldn't have had this problem due to their wealth of experience. If this causes a delay, it would also cause us to lose face in front of the eyes of the public. Sinking more money into Taurus isn't ideal either. Why do they even need the extra money? They need it for unforeseen expenses that came from the new workers' rights bill. A couple shipment companies they had contracts with also increased costs on necessary materials. Realities of running a business is to be able to adapt to changing circumstances. The most important thing here is to finish the project on time. One thing is for certain, our administration must avoid working with Taurus in the future and opt for safer choices like Underhaul. Well, we do have the third option of the state construction company. That weren't they known for issues, though? Let's float this one by him. I know he's going to poo-poo this, but I want to know why. The SCC could be a partner, not the fossil of a company. If anybody will have timeline issues, it's them. That's what I thought. The question is, are we going to give Taurus the funds they requested? What is your decision, Mr. President? No. No, I don't think we will. We're going to lose face here if they slow down. But then again, if they do, then they lose face because then we'll never use them again. So that might be impetus on them to get it done. However, when companies do that, you usually don't get the best work, right? It's that whole triangle of cheap, fast, or well done, and you can only pick two. So if I don't do that, and they do speed up, are we going to end up just having problems? Is there going to be an event triggered by that later, saying that there was a derailment or a bridge collapsed or something like that? You have to think about these things. You only have to think about them because I don't know how in-depth the game is for stuff like this, but I feel like this is, it's going to have consequences, one way or another. It may be delayed. That may be the best case scenario. The best of the worst choices. But we really can't, until I know where we're going to get our damn money from, I can't keep digging us a hole. We've given them money. They just have unforeseen expenses, okay? That's the only thing that's keeping them from slowing down, but they're a business, so I think we just don't do this. I feel like the long-term problems of going into the hole are going to be worse than what little event may come out of this. We're going to lose face at some point. Either it's going to be a delayed construction, or a train derailment, or something going on. But I think, just based on any of that, he is correct. In the future, we will not use this company. Especially if something does go wrong and they do lose face because of it. So, either way, they're going to be kind of disgraced by this going out. Unless they finish it on time and this is just a red herring issue. Yeah, let's not, we can't do this. We don't have the funds to spare. This will most likely cause a delay, but Taurus Holding will be informed immediately. Let's see what happens. If we miss the deadlines, the people will lose faith in our capabilities. Regardless, the decision is made. Well then, thank you for coming. That is all on the matter. Thank you, everyone. Simon nodded, and we left the meeting room. Yeah, there's always a cost. And the fact that we're only halfway done, not even halfway done, this isn't going to get done by the end of the game, is it? Okay, well, what do we have here? Discussion of changes to the tax system. Okay, well, that can wait. I will see you next time.